Welcome everyone to another Knocked Conscious. Somehow kismet, super synchronicity, something crazy. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. I had literally quit a month ago, man. And then I get a ding on my Facebook from this gentleman right there. And he says, I'm gonna invade your show tonight. So I said, let's do it. So Larken Rose, sir, welcome to Knocked Conscious. How are you, sir? Tell us a little bit about yourself for anyone who might not know you, but most of the people who know me would know you. So welcome.
Thanks for having me on. I'm a strange extremist weirdo who thinks that I own myself.
What?
And I'm so weird that I think that you, whoever's listening to this, own yourself too.
Wait.
I
No. That doesn't happen. Only people who own themselves can own others. Didn't you? I thought that's how that worked.
uh,
So,
it,
so
it
Larkin, welcome. Well, obviously, tell us a little bit about your history, about
sure.
the libertarian part, but then we'd love to get into actual history, because you and I have weird synchronicities and kind of had a similar, I would say, upbringing, and then realize these things. So I'd love to get into all that.
Yeah, it's funny that we just realized that we grew up within like 2 miles of each other or something. And I wonder how many times we
Unbelievable.
actually like saw each other in passing, and of course it wouldn't register. We didn't know each other.
Drove
But
down there all the time.
so I grew up in this little religious town called Bernathen, Pennsylvania, and in conservative, kind of libertarian, constitutionalist leaning to begin with. So that was the bias of people around me. But there's a very weird thing about the religion I grew up in, which is it may be unique. It's pretty close to unique if it's not unique, in that it teaches people to doubt. It goes against the whole thing of faith alone. It doesn't say, here's the truth, believe it, repeat it. If you don't, you burn in hell. It says, if the truth doesn't make sense to you, if you can't use your understanding to go, oh, yeah, I see that. Oh, that makes sense. Then why would you believe it? And that's not what religions usually do. Here's the gospel, believe it or burn.
Yeah, well, it's kind of
And
like schools, right? It's kind of like indoctrinated schools where it's
yeah,
set things and it's not learn at your own pace or whatever. It's structured, right?
so you can add to that, add to the fact that I grew up in this religion that teaches people to doubt, the fact that I had my father was a teacher for 8 zillion years. He was known as Doc Science in town. And he taught in a very unorthodox way, which was not everybody memorize this stuff and write it on the test and get a good grade. He actually taught people to think. And it was funny because that made a lot of people uncomfortable who are like, but I'm a good parrot. I know how to listen and remember stuff and write it down. You're asking me to like figure stuff out. I've never done that. So it's funny because a bunch of people really didn't like his teaching style, and a bunch of people totally loved his teaching style because they actually wanted to know how to think. And so, between that religion and having him as my father, yeah, I think I was kind of predisposed to doubt things from the get go. And then I also like to argue, as I still do. But when arguing, I like it when my position doesn't suck. When my position
It helps
doesn't
to be on the right side of things when you start the argument. It makes it almost impossible. It's kind of like telling the truth. Like, you don't have to lie. If you just tell the truth, there's nothing to remember that you have to lie about. It's the
right.
same thing. Being
So
on the right.
when if I had an argument and I'm debating somebody, because I was already, way more libertarian than almost everybody I would ever talk to. So everybody else wanted a bigger government than I did. So I'm in the convenient position. If you have no right to do this and government shouldn't do that, and we should be free to blah, blah, blah. But I hardly ever heard anything in the other direction. There was hardly anybody arguing against me and saying that I wanted too much government, which I did, but I didn't realize that because I wasn't hearing that from anybody. But I did notice. So it's weird because I didn't fall off
So
the
in what
status
ways did
spectrum.
that? When what ways did that bubble up? Just that you were like more statehood, like more cops, order. Like, what in what ways? What things did you support from the state that you didn't really realize were actually like growing that animal or that
Yeah,
monster?
I believed in having a military to protect us and police to defend the innocent and, all the mythology about what we pretend government does. because I believed it back then. I lived pretty sheltered life in a very safe neighborhood, so I could imagine cops are our friends and they protect and serve us
We
and all that.
literally could have walked by each other in our
I know.
neighborhood, literally across. I mean, we honestly we're
Yeah,
within 2 miles of each other. It's unbelievable.
we probably did at some point, which is funny. We don't have a time machine to check. But
On
so when
Buck,
I'm arguing with people who want more government than me, which is everybody, I'd say, like, you don't have the right to tax me to fund your welfare state or whatever. Yeah, you're feel free to give away your own stuff, but you don't get to give away my stuff. I get to decide when I give away my stuff, and I get to decide who I get to give it to. Makes perfect sense. And then somewhere in the back of my mind is this thing going, yeah, but why do you think it's okay to tax them to fund the military? Well, it's for their own good and it's for the nation. And wait a minute, that's exactly what they say. So the funny thing is, I didn't get pushed off the political spectrum by people pulling me in that direction. I didn't know anybody in that direction. I don't think I ever argued with somebody who wanted less government than I did. I accidentally got there by noticing inconsistencies in my own position. And this was at the same time, my first wife, Tessa, who we still get along fine, we sort of both fell off the political spectrum at the same time because we talked to other people. And it's funny because she has sort of activist libertarian parents who helped completely push us off the spectrum, even though they still believed in politics. Because in talking to them, we realized, well, how can you justify any taxation? How can you justify government having any rights that I don't have and you don't have? It doesn't make sense. So we both just accidentally fell into the category of, wait a minute, if we don't, like, we want organization, we want cooperation, we want lots of good things that normal people can do. We just don't want a ruling class. And there's a name for people who don't want a ruling class, and it's called anarchist. And so
don't say it. Don't say if you say it 3 times, it's like Beetlejuice, it'll show up.
anarchist,
Hold on,
anarchist,
don't
anarchist.
do it.
I appeared.
It's so funny. The anarchy, right? Anarchy. It's anarchy in the streets. Cars burning. You're sitting there like, guys, you do not know an anarchy. Anarchy is
Yeah.
just not that, man.
So, and I didn't
Same
at the
thing.
time either. I assumed one of the funniest videos I made, it was years ago, was making fun of a little pamphlet called The God Called Government, which is a very libertarian pamphlet, describes what government should only protect individual rights, blah, blah, blah. So I made a video making fun of it. And then the punchline is the end is I wrote this stupid thing. Like, I wrote this in 1994, back when I still believed there could be a protector government. There could be a legitimate government that only just did these certain things, because I still had the contradictions in my head. And instead of just going, well, that doesn't match, it was like, I have to make these fit. And so it's embarrassing how long it took me to finally give up and realize there can't be a legitimate government. There can't even be a government because there can't be legitimate authority. And without that, it's not a government anymore. It's just a gang of thugs. Like, government implies legitimacy. That label implies, like, the thing that exercises authority, the right to rule.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's like it's like putting the word in the definition. It defines itself, but it really has nothing other than that. It doesn't produce or anything. So
yeah,
I have to put this comment up. William's on with us. I am not the goat, sir. But William, I'll share with you the story offline, but literally Larkin just pinged me on Facebook today. I had messaged him months ago and just kind of tugged his pant leg a couple times, but he was busy doing his thing, which we'll talk about next, Larkin. Let's talk about your event coming up here. But that was the same thing for me, was the whole thing about the government. There's like a good government and the lesser of two evils and the whole thing. Then you watch like someone like Fear and Loathing with Hunter S. Thompson, and someone like myself is this neocon douchebag. Is like, you already dismiss him before he even talks.
yeah,
Right. And like literally the most poignant thing he's ever said was, when it's the lesser of two evils, they can set it up that way. And you're like, oh my God, they just bounce them off each other.
yeah,
Like, oh, that's right. The Republicans have to enforce law and order and the things that the Democrats would oppose, because Republicans would never do that. So if they do it, then it must be done for the good of us. And the
right,
Democrats have to bail out the banks because they would never do that unless they absolutely must do it. So it's
yeah.
like this back and forth, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and so the first thing was me figuring out the philosophy, which, I mean, now I make fun of the fact that my self-appointed job is to state the bleeding obvious and the way any idiot should be able to understand it. And it feels like that. I'm not describing some super complex thing. It's things as simple as like, I can't delegate to somebody else a right I don't have. Like if I say, hey, can I pay you to go like beat up my neighbor and take his stuff? Like that's bad whether I do it or whether I hire you to do it or whether I vote for somebody else to do it. Like such an elementary level of thought that almost nobody goes through because this stuff isn't discussed anywhere. You memorize the statist mythology. Well, we consent by way of our vote, and then they represent us by doing things we don't have the right to do and bossing us around and taking our money. But that's them working. They're public servants when they boss us around and take our money, and they're representing us when they do things we have no right to do. So I believed all that crap and didn't look at it. But so after figuring out the philosophy, and obviously I read a million people talking about this stuff too. I didn't like figure it out from scratch entirely. But after that, I accidentally had a many years long education in human psychology, because when you go, oh, this is 2 + 2 = 4. This is not difficult to explain in a way that like it's really obvious. Like if anybody will listen, hey everybody, 2 + 2 = 4. Shut up, you're an extremist. We'd all be killing and eating each other. Like, wait, what? And suddenly having to realize we are not rational beings. We human beings, we think we're progressive and enlightened, and we analytically like think about the evidence and come to a logical conclusion. No, we do that like 1% of the time, if that.
Really advanced chimps with really advanced piles of shit that we throw at each other.
Yeah,
That's about what we are. I mean, let's not
that's
kid
us.
ourselves.
And so suddenly I realized, well, this isn't the challenge is not explaining the principles. That's pretty damn easy. The challenge is how do you get the other person to hear it when they've been trained their whole life to believe something completely ridiculous that conflicts with 2 + 2 = 4? And I have to look back at the former me and go, well, it like the me of today would be kind of frustrated talking to the me back then, because I would have clung to stupid beliefs and made these, you know, backwards rationalizations for why no, we need government. Because so having to figure out the psychology of, is there a way to say things that will have people think about it? And what people naturally do when they like learn some new important thing, I'm sure I'm sure everybody listening to this experienced this. They learn some new important truth and like, I'm going to go tell people about it. Hey, person I know or person I don't know
Eager
or
beaver,
whatever.
right?
There's this really
Right.
important thing. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. You're weird and crazy and I don't want to listen to you. It's like, oh, well, that didn't go the way I'd hoped. And figuring out that the human
Wait,
brain
have
is
you couldn't have been the only person listening to this podcast for 6 years. You couldn't have been that only person, because there's only one person listening to this thing. That's literally what it is.
so, and it's been 30 years since I gave up statism. So it's been a
Wow.
long haul. So this was a while ago, but still the process of figuring it out and then looking back at my own brain and going, what could anybody have said that might have sped up me figuring out the bleeding obvious and giving up this stupid superstition of authority? And I start to realize that like what people normally do, like I was saying, they go into evangelical mode. Here's something I think is really important. I'm going to hit you in the face with my words. People don't like that. It doesn't matter how true your idea is. They don't like that. They don't respond well to it. They feel attacked. They get defensive.
Right.
And even if you're
Because you're
telling
just
them,
barfing
hey,
at them. You're literally like,
yeah,
who are you to talk at me like that? I've been indoctrinated for tens of years. How dare you do this in 3 minutes?
right. And you're just some random guy. Everybody knows that blah, blah, blah. Why should I listen to this crazy guy? So figuring out along the way by talk, like I know 80 zillion people who have been through this process of giving up statism now, and figuring out, well, what actually has to happen for people to get there. And one of the main things is people have to take themselves there. Like you can't drag them to a belief they don't want to believe. It cannot be done. Also, you shouldn't have that ability either. Because if you get to decide what somebody else thinks, that's kind of messed up. That's kind of the opposite of respecting their
Well,
self-ownership.
the craziest way for me, and you'll understand this perfectly. I was neocon probably till like 2016 at least. I would say then it was the Kirsten Sinema, Martha McSally Senate race in Arizona, and those fucking commercials were the most brutal fucking things I've ever seen in my entire life. And what was weird was I still thought lesser of two evils. I'm not going to lie. I was still there, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't vote for that election. That was like the first chip. I voted for Trump, but I didn't vote on the cinema mixed out. Like, so it was like I kind of backed away slowly from the voting, right? Well,
Mhm.
then 2016 and 20, I did vote Trump. And then 24, I voted Noda. I wrote down Noda. Next time, I'm not even wasting my breath because I didn't want to show them that I showed up for their fucking bullshit
Right.
illusory thing. But I had to do that one kind of for myself. It was kind of like I have to, it's like if I write it down, it's set in stone. So I didn't
Right.
vote for anyone this term, and that was it. But it was 24 where I looked at the Libertarian Party. So I looked at Michael Rectenwald. Now, once again, all the people who know me and who know Michael Rectenwald is a fucking crazy psychopath. But I love Michael Rectenwald because he just comes at you like he's who he is, like he's who he is. And I will work with anyone who shows me who they are. That's the whole point of
Mhm.
someone expressing their ideas, is so that you can, you can face the ideas. Anyway, so that happened. And then the libertarian election thing happened. And I watched that live going into early mornings. And it clearly was not, that was want to talk rigged in a weird way. There
Yeah.
was some clear manipulation there. And I think it was so they could get the least electable candidate against Trump. And clearly 0.4% would have done did do that. But anyway, the second that happened, my brain went boom. And I went, oh my God, the parties aren't the problem. The humans are the problem. It's a human problem.
Yeah.
It's not a party problem. It's a grab the ring problem.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
It's funny because I was
that's how
just
I got
working on the
there.
part of the book that quotes the thing about when Frodo offers the ring of power to Gandalf, and he's like, "Don't tempt me with it. I would use it to try to do good stuff, and it would be an absolute
Not yet,
disaster."
William. Not yet. We're gonna white pill. We're gonna get there. We're gonna talk about your next thing, your previous comment next. But go ahead, Larkin. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make sure I engage with the one person who watches the podcast. Like I said.
Manage the rabble, even if it's rabble singular. But that mindset of, oh, we need the right guy on the throne and that whole thing, like I was stuck in that for ages. Like I was, for me, back in my day, it was 1994 Republican Revolution. Was like they took the House, they took the Senate, they took the White House. They had some awesome propaganda about, we're going to slash all these federal things, we're probably going to do away with the income tax. Heard that before. We're going to do all these things, it'll be drastic, here's our 10-point plan, and we're going to blah, blah, blah. And they won. I was like, yay, we're saved, or at least this will be a big improvement. Nothing happened. Just nothing happened. The funny thing is, I think that's a positive, because as long as people can believe the system gives a damn about them, they keep falling for it. But when, like you were saying, when you were watching those commercials and you're like, wait, what? When people get hit in the face with the ridiculousness of the thing they're hoping for or they believe in, it's actually better. And so before Trump was elected the first time, I said, I do see a possible positive of him being elected, in that I think more conservatives still need to be stabbed in the back because they still think there's a political solution. So he'll get in there. He will absolutely stab them in the back every way there is. Then maybe they'll learn and stop thinking there's a political solution. And I know a bunch of conservatives who have since stopped thinking there's a political solution after being stabbed in the back by Mango Mussolini and all his underling stooges. So to me, it's weird, because to most people, they think politics is the game that matters. Politics is a stupid puppet show that doesn't matter in the slightest. The thing that matters is, what do the people believe? If all the people tomorrow said, we don't think any of you crooks have the right to rule us, the end. Like, there's not even a revolution. There's not a battle, because that's just some yammering politicians. If we're not obeying them, if we're not being their enforcers and giving them money and giving them more, they aren't anything. So the realization to me that the entire problem resides between the ears of 8 billion people, it doesn't reside in DC. Yeah, there are evil psychos there, but they only have power because a lot of people imagine them to be authority. if those people stop imagining to be authority, okay, you can sit over there and tell us all how you have the right to rule us. If none of us believe you, then what? Like, we don't care. Like,
Exactly.
if I came out and said, I'm emperor of the world, everybody would say, no, you're not. And okay, I'm not. If they believed me, I kind of would be in a twisted, weird way. It's the same
Yeah.
with Congress and presidents. If you
Well,
think they're
if
part
the
of this,
emperor has no clothes, I mean,
yeah,
if you're not being told, I mean, if you're in your vacuum, your echo chamber and your vacuum, Putin's living in his vacuum, Trump's living in it. He has to be told the yes things all the time, or else it wouldn't work. You
yeah,
can't do the things you do without the support and without the lack of contradiction or that lack of criticism as well.
yeah. And so then the process of figuring out, well, how do you get people to think about these things? Now, there's a weird small percentage of people that I'm pretty sure you're in that percentage, and a number of people I know are in that percentage who like to think about stuff and maybe even read things on occasion, like
Yeah,
that kind of
guilty.
weirdo.
I'm one of those darn whippersnappers.
And so for that, I wrote a number of books and stuff, and I've been really proud of how many people said that my book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, like totally changed their life and their view of reality. But still, that's a percentage of the population about that big that's going to read a book about political philosophy. So I realized there has to be a different approach for the normal people, and we can sit around and bellyache and whine about the fact that no, stupid, indoctrinated sheep. And even if that's totally true, okay, but they're still empowering this big monster that's going to stomp on you. We sort of need them, even if they
Right,
don't
it's
like
still
things.
it's still the means to the end. I mean, they're still going to be the tool that
Yeah.
does the thing.
And so slowly figuring out the psychology of, are there way after, smashing my head against a brick wall for years and thinking nobody's going to pay attention, nobody's going to wake up, and figuring out there really are ways, but you have to start by training yourself to not do what comes naturally. And Amanda and I made a course called Candles in the Dark a number of years back, which teaches people how to approach the thing not as evangelicals, not as here's my belief, I'm going to hit you in the face with it, but as people who just know how to interview others, actually trying to understand them, actually listening to them and caring what they have to say. Doesn't mean you think they're right. You can think their beliefs are patently stupid. But the process of asking the right questions to people has a way better track record of bringing someone to the point where they go, well, I'm not really sure about that. I'll have to think about that. And that's sort of all you can do, is get them to the cognitive dissonance where they have to process it. Like you described it for yourself. I went through that. Almost everybody I know has gone through that, where it's like, wait, something here doesn't add up. You can't process that for somebody else. You can try to bring them to that, have them see it, like gently have them see the contradiction instead of saying, you have a contradiction in your head, you're stupid, to the point that they see it and go, huh, yeah, I'm not sure what I believe about this. Because it's one thing if somebody doesn't like what you believe, they can just go, blah, 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 I'm going away. But if you can bring them to the point where they don't even like what they believe, like they're like, I don't know how to reconcile these two things in my own head. Like they can go blah, blah, blah and walk away, but they're taking the contradiction with them and they know it. Like it's
Right.
still there.
100%. Yeah, and I want to get to William in the comments, but I want to have a segue. But I wanted to talk about that point you just made about that, where the questions are. Like, I give you like a guy like a Cenk Uygur. He's now some heroic libertarian because he's anti-war and peace. And I go, literally, it's like three questions to your point, and it's over. You go, Cenk, okay, Cenk. So you want healthcare though? You want some infrastructure? You want okay? So how do you get the funding for that? Oh, you tax. Okay, so most people here, taxation is blank theft, right? Okay, so now I don't want you to steal from me anymore, so I refuse. What do you do as your next step to make sure that I pay? You go to violence, man. So you're not anti-violence. You are very much pro it. You just don't know what angle and how and which ways that it festers or it manifests. And that's where you and I look at these things further. So with that, and I want to get into the Sedona stuff. So let me give you William here. He grew up in Flagstaff, ditched school to go to Sedona. We're going to talk about Sedona very shortly here. Looking forward to hearing solutions. So he's a little black pilled in the comments, but here it is. It's my opinion. I'm starting to see that I think humanity's limited. And I think only a percentage of us can actually conceptualize these things. Now, you can call it IQ or whatever pattern, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what that is, but some people don't even have an inner monologue. So, how possibly can these types of concepts that are never been practiced, that are concepts conceptualized, how can those be conceptualized by people at limited there? And I think this is what we're going to lead to and what you're doing. So, how is that? And then tell me how you're solving this in Sedona.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of people, and I understand, and I think it's completely untrue. Um, most of the people who say that they got to figuring out the garbage by reading stuff and thinking about stuff, and they see most people aren't doing that. So, like, yeah, and same with me. And they're like, other people aren't going to sit down and read a 500-page treatise on Austrian economics, whatever. They don't care. They don't think this is hopeless. All that means is they're not going to get there on the same path that you did. But the reason there is, in my not particularly humble opinion, there is no connection between IQ and ability to understand this. And the reason I say that is a grand total of 0 people in the history of the world sat down and objectively decided, we need a ruling class. I need somebody violently dominating me. They were all indoctrinated into that. They were all taught to believe this set of mythology and this collection of lies. Some of us can reason our way out of that because we're weirdos who like to think and read and stuff. But if you imagine, like, I like to use the analogy of slavery. You know, lots of people in the West now go, yeah, slavery is horrible and evil. And it's like, most of you say that. I mean, first of all, yes, very true. But most of you say that just because you were born in this time. Had you been born, a couple hundred years ago, you would have been, it's legal, it's legitimate. What are you talking about? So you don't get credit for knowing something true just because you were surrounded by other people saying it.
I mean, I'll be honest, I missed the civil rights era. So I wouldn't even know what that and Jim Crow was like.
Yeah. And it was, well, that was every step of the way. It was government screwing up everything on purpose. Like they went from,
Right.
we're going to do forced segregation and keep you apart, even if you want to be together. Now we're going to do forced integration and smash you together, even if you want to be like, how about just letting people decide who they want to associate with? No, we're going to. So
freedom of association. Anyway, yeah, please continue.
Yeah. But so that whole process of going through the basically the processing of a belief system, some of us weirdos will go through that by thinking it. Others can just be questioned through it. And we did a number of in-person events called Candles in the Dark, where we would do it. It cost so much money. We lost money most of the time. But what we do at the end is invite people to bring in somebody they know and they could practice. It was like a 2-day thing and they could practice what they learned over the last 2 days. First of all, there was never conflict and fighting and defensive. It was always like fun, pleasant little conversations with people who knew nothing about this and had never heard it before. The one we did in Denver, it's like, oh, a couple people were going to bring somebody, but the timing and the scheduling didn't work. And a friend of mine said, I'm going to go find somebody. Walked out in the street, literally found a homeless person. And you could tell this person probably had a very rough life, was not highly educated. Like he could speak and stuff, but this was not a rocket scientist, like humble, quiet person, not like raving lunatic version of homeless person, humble and quiet.
We know many of those in Phoenix.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of them are in public office, but so he comes in and we do the questioning and it goes perfectly. Like the person, the lowest like education level, presumably the lowest income level, like not a lot of life experience, not a lot of sophistication. And it worked perfectly because he totally understood it, because the foundation really is 2 + 2 = 4. The lie is insanely complicated. And understanding the intricacies of how that lie developed over time and what it does and how it feeds off of this psychology and this, that, the other thing, like, yeah, that requires a certain amount of understanding, but being shown the lie doesn't if you know how to show people. And I think the reason so many people think, oh, it's hopeless, is because they approach other people like, here's the evidence and logic, and they didn't listen. They must be too stupid to understand this. And I understand that conclusion, but that's not why they couldn't understand it. They couldn't understand it because they've had a lifetime of indoctrination that puts a freaking wall in front of them being able to hear 2 + 2 = 4. And so the entire purpose of Candles in the Dark and the entire purpose of my new book, Approaching Humanity, and the event by the same name that's happening in Sedona, is to find ways to gently help people look past that wall in a way that doesn't feel to them like evangelical or telling them they're stupid, and doesn't require them to be super geniuses. And so, but that was, I mean, that was a huge frustration for me for years, thinking people are too dumb to get this. Well, they're too dumb to get it if it's a intellectual discussion, because they don't care. They're not paying attention. Whether or not they even have the ability to process it, they have no desire to process it. Like, the game's on tonight and what's for dinner. I can't process that. It gives me a headache to even think about this stuff. So I absolutely can relate to people who go, most of the people are too damn dumb to understand this. We're doomed. But we're not.
Right. And I hate, and that's what I think. I hate to say, and that's why I asked that question, because I do think that it's like there are concepts where it conceptualize it, it's out of the box, and some people do not, just are incapable of that. And
Yeah.
I know that to us these things are simple, but they're not to the people, to your point, who have been just I mean, we're talking 30, 40 years, 50 years of indoctrination, constant, everything on television's telling you this. I mean, John Carpenter's They Live, with the whole obey and consume and all that. I mean, literally, it's the transfer. And your point, they make it tighter and tighter, so we focus more in being distracted more, or not focusing on this part more, so they can do more of the shadiness.
Yeah.
So it all kind of plays within itself, right?
Yeah. But the reason I don't remember how many years ago it was, suddenly got optimistic is I could see, like, if I have a little bit of time with a person, it doesn't, like, their education level almost doesn't matter when you approach it. Like, if I'm like, here, read this
Yeah,
book. Yeah, it matters.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
like, one of the main lines of questioning we use, there's a bunch of different ways to approach it, but sort of one of the most basic approaches is ask some random person, conservative, liberal, anything in between, somebody who doesn't care about politics at all, doesn't matter. And like, literal homeless person, because I think this is the question we start with. Can you imagine a law? It can be an existing law or just a hypothetical law that's so bad that you think, well, in that case, I should disobey it. I should break the law. The right thing to do is to break the law. And most people can easily think of an example. And like, if I'm talking to a conservative, it's like, if they said no more private gun ownership, do you think you're obligated to obey? No, hell no. Okay,
All right. Cold
I
dead
agree.
hand, right?
Yeah. Now, one of the and with a liberal, it might be, hey, if they say give us $10,000, we can, start another war on the other side of the world, when there's a Republican in office, which is the only time they seem to care about it. Would you be obligated to hand over money that you knew was going to be used for something you think is evil? Well, no, certainly not. So you can find any example, with any person, you can find some example. And a really easy one is, once upon a time, slavery was legal. Like, you were allowed to own people. That was screwed up, right? We all accept that was screwed up, and that disobeying the law in that case was the right thing to do. So whatever the example is, doesn't matter. That's the starting point, because if anybody, unless somebody all the way says, no matter what the law says, I should definitely obey it. And I've met zero people who do that. Like, people will have a longer or shorter list of the laws they would feel justified in disobeying, but almost everybody has some list. Like, if you made me do that, I'm going to resist. Okay, fine. By the way, one of the rules in when we're in Candles in the Dark mode is we don't say what we think unless it's to agree with something they just said. So if I say, do you think you'd be obligated to, like, morally obligated to pay a tax that's funding some evil warmongering on the other side of the world? No. Okay, I agree. I don't think you're obligated to do that either. Now, you might pay up because you're scared of what they'll do to you if you don't. If you knew you could get away with it, of not giving them the money that was going to be used for that thing you think is horrible, do you think that would be right and justified? And most people are already starting to hesitate and go, well, yeah, I guess so. Because you can tell they've never thought about this. Like, you think this ever comes up in public school? Like, the idea of disobedience? And I say, okay, Let's say you do that, and then they find out, like, hey, you didn't pay that money, and they say, come on, hand it over. Again, you may be too scared to resist, but do you think you'd then be morally obligated to hand the money that you know is going to be used to do evil things? And and it doesn't have to be taxes, it can be literally any law that they think is bogus. That is exercising the thing inside them that is actually still a human being. The thing that says, hey, if you, Mr. Authority, do that, you're not the boss of me anymore. I'm not going along with that. I have this line, and if you step over that line, I'm not doing it. It doesn't even matter if they're if they're delusional and thinking what they would resist.
It reminds me of COVID. That's what happened with COVID. So when I was working, it was the up to was it the first if you had like 500 employees that were going to do the mandatory rollouts. I called my boss. I called my manager. I said, "I'm telling you right now, I am not taking this thing. I'm not taking it. You will do whatever we have to do to not do this. I will do whatever you need to do, except that I will not take this thing. I don't think it's going to be a thing. It's going to be that low. I go, trust me, once the first 200 do it, then they're going to move it to 100, then they'll move it to 50 employees. And by the time you're done, we're all swept up and this is all bullshit. I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to, I'll do it if I want to do it, but I will not be, forced to. And I love it because I actually work for someone who I would call like, I love my work and the fact that they respect me for my understanding of my body and myself, even though they might be more idealized with like the people that we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
Yeah, cool.
I'm grateful for that.
And that, I mean, COVID was a fine example of a sociology experiment of how much bullshit are you going to put up with? Is there any line at which you're going to say, screw you, I'm not doing this? And up in Yavapai County, just north of Phoenix, pretty quickly, the sheriff came out and said, we're not doing this. We're not doing shutdowns and mask. Like the governor said, you all have to do this. And the sheriff said, no, you don't. Like we're the ones who would have enforced it, and we're not enforcing that crap. But it's a test. I mean, it's just like the question. It's just a real world test instead of a hypothetical question. At what point do you go, okay, you can command that all you want. You can say your authority and this is law and whatever else. But if you do that, no, I'm not obligated to do that. And one of the reasons I said that when they were doing COVID, that this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen them do. Because I like study the propagandists of tyrants, because the dumbest thing a tyrant can possibly do, even if a bunch of people are going along with it, is train a bunch of his underlings on how to say no. And it did exactly that. There were a bunch of people went along, like, because most people are, well-trained livestock, but a number of like normally obedient, compliant, conformist, conservatives, whatever, were like, you don't get to decide I have to get an injection or wear the stupid or when I can leave my house. Like, screw you. And so I said, that's literally.
And it was started by a Republican, though. The whole thing was kicked off.
Yes.
And no one let's not give the credit, let's not give the 6.6 trillion that was spent didn't increase the inflation at all in a few years later with the lagging effects. Sure, those $1,200 like this is the whole thing. Like this is where you and I try, like we're laughing at it because we know it so well. We're just sitting here like we don't even have to talk. We know the answers. We're laughing. Everybody else is like, what are you guys talking about? And getting to this level is so much dissonance too to like crack.
Right. And the beauty is, because I used to think if people don't get what's going on, we're doomed. And all these schemes and scams that divide and conquer and the false flags and the warm up, like huge list of this pretty clever evil crap they do to pit us against each other, to make excuses for we need a whole bunch of authoritarian power because otherwise you'll all get sick or you'll all be poor, or we'll get invaded, or immigrants will steal your jobs or some damn thing. And I used to think, well, people have to understand all that, and they don't to end this. They just have to understand those bastards aren't really the boss of me. I'm not beholden to them. And the beginning point is finding where people already have the line. At what point are you, okay, if they did this, I'm not doing that. I'm not going along with that. And then sort of encourage that. So when we're in Candles in the Dark mode, we're basically talking to the part of them that dares to own themselves and say, okay, in that case, screw you. My conscience wins. Your authority can go to hell. Because almost
see how that would work. Imagine it's like, hey, okay, let me ask you this. Would you take your gun and pull the trigger and shoot someone? No. Okay, that's your line. Okay, so let's take a step back. So you're funding someone to be the proxy person to do that. Does that make it okay? Because there's a couple cushions in between. I mean, I could see how easily that could be effective in to a large group of people swapping.
Yeah, and one of the common lines of questioning, one thing we very carefully do is don't make anything sound like an accusation, even if they would totally deserve it. Like, you're advocating evil crap, including against me, you suck. Like, that can totally be true, but saying it isn't helpful. But a thing we do is, okay, if I'm talking to somebody who leans left and I say, like, do you believe in like a assault weapons ban or something? Yeah, I think all those should be, only government should blah, blah, blah. I don't trust government and only they should have those weapons. Okay, we'll sort that out later.
If you assault me with a pool stick, it's an assault pool stick, by the way.
Assault pool stick. So I bypass all the fact that they don't know what the words mean and they don't know how guns work or anything of that sort, and say, okay, just to be clear, and I'm just asking for what you believe. Suppose I have an AR-15, which they call an assault weapon, which I do. You don't have to suppose it too much because I totally do. If they banned it tomorrow and I said, I'm not giving mine up, I might hide it somewhere, I might whatever. I might try to be sneaky, but I'm not giving it up. So in other words, I'm going to.
What AR-15 you mean?
What?
That's what you mean. You mean what AR-15?
Yeah. Lost it in a boating accident. So if I'm talking to the person and I say, if it were up to you, what do you want to have happen to me? And you can watch this weird thing of their brain, because their brain is used to thinking in terms of the statist rhetoric, which is always vague and non-specific and dishonest. Well, I want a policy that makes it so nobody has these guns. Okay, well, I'm an actual person and I have one of those. And if they ban that, I might say, you don't get it. I'm going to hide it or say I lost it or whatever. So what do you want to have done to me? Almost every single time they don't answer the question. They say, well, there's consequences to breaking the law. It's like, I know, I'm very clear on what they would do to me, but I'm not asking that. I'm asking, what would you want them to do to me? And just calmly, not even like, how dare you, not accusatorily, just, well, they send you a warning or something. Okay. And if I said, you warn me all you want, I'm still not giving it up, then what? So the thing is, try to get them to answer in a way that is literal, personal, and specific. Like, actually say what you mean, which is kind of what you were already talking about. If you want people to kick down my door and point machine guns in my face because you're against gun violence, okay, I wouldn't make fun of them if I'm in candles in the dark mode, but that's still pretty funny. If they would advocate that, I just let them say that. Okay, I'm just trying to find out exactly what you condone. The weirdest thing is, I have found, having done this a zillion times, trying to change someone's mind works way less often to change their mind than not trying to change their mind, but trying to be all the way clear in what they believe by just asking them what they believe. And it's because if they have to like look at the nitpicky things of like, well, I wouldn't want you attacked or whatever, because like, I don't think you're a threat. And I was like, okay, but that's, I mean, if the law said that, I'm still breaking the law. Would you want them to let it slide? If they go, yeah, okay, well, is that just me? Would, like, if my neighbor, who's also,
yeah, do you
nice
trust
guy,
me to carry that, to have that thing? Do you trust me to not be, use
right,
it incorrectly, right? The tool.
But just the process of making them try to get their own beliefs literal, personal, and specific, like real world, not abstract. I believe in reasonable restrictions on blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean anything. It's like, okay, in the real world, what would it look like? Because in the real world, what it looks like is Waco. There's a bunch of people being tortured and murdered because you didn't have the right piece of metal. But I wouldn't.
Yeah, well,
say that
Ruby Ridge, where a dog and a kid and his dog stumble upon snipers just happening outside their house. So that's oopsie.
Oops. Well, that's what gun control really is. But I wouldn't throw that in candles in dark mode because that's way too confrontational. I throw it in.
Yeah, that gets a little bit. So we've got Derek in here. Okay. Derek, I want to understand what you mean by this, and this is important. You have to be in the game to play the game, get involved. Now, Derek, I know you and I started talking. We've slowly transitioned you. We're getting you here, my friend. We're getting you there. We are very similar paths, but welcome. Derek, this is the person. Larkin is the person who will get you over this finish line. So what I think you mean is probably politically or something like that. Larkin, what are ways outside of the political realm that one can actually be involved, actually be effective with their own lives? Let's start with some of that. And then let's talk about Sedona. Let's talk about approaching humanity. I definitely want to talk about one of your guests because I had the honor of speaking with him a couple times. Absolutely love him. And I want to tout him as much as your work as well. So this be in the game, to play the game, get involved. What are some ways that you can be the liberty you want to see in the world versus vote for it?
It starts here. Because if somebody is still voting or playing politics or has any faith in that, they haven't sorted out this yet. Because if you feel beholden at all to legislation, to law, to ruling classes, to authority, to government, to whatever you want to call it, if you're still of the mindset that we need the masters to change their rules to let us have more freedom, the problem is not them. Yeah, they're psychopathic, like evil loonies, but the problem is still that you think you need their permission. And the entire thing of approaching humanity is our species, with all its stupid warmongering and oppression and dumb, evil crap it's been doing for centuries and centuries, we are finally approaching the start of what we're supposed to be, not the finish line, the starting line. We haven't started yet, because the vast majority of people in human history haven't recognized that they own themselves. And most people, if you say, well, who's in charge of you? I am. Who owns you? Well, I own myself. I am free, blah, blah, blah. Should you obey the law and pay taxes? Well, of course. Then you don't owe yourself. Like, if you think you're beholden to somebody else and you have an obligation to pay tribute to them and listen to their laws and obey, and if you don't like the law, petition to change it or vote for some new tyrant who you hope will do, like, all of that is symptoms of the problem inside your own head. Your own head is still bound by a collection of lies. And it's just the same. I use this analogy often because it's so accurate. Frederick Douglass, who was raised as a slave, talks about how slaves were trained to think that slavery was proper, it was legal and it's proper, and that they should be the property of other people. Now, to us, we can go, how on earth could you convince anybody of that? Like, it's much more comfortable thinking, no, they all know it's evil and they're outraged and waiting for a chance to overthrow the master or run away. Most of them weren't. And Frederick Douglass describes that. And he describes his own process of escaping that mental enslavement. But that was the entire challenge, because if all those slaves are like, come on, we need to get owned by a nicer master. If that's your goal, you're a slave forever. Even if you get a nicer master, you're a slave. You're thinking entirely inside the template and the paradigm of property. You think you're livestock. You're just bickering about which farmer, which rancher you want owning you as their livestock. You're not even trying to be free. You don't even think you deserve to be free. And so all of the focus on the political system is still people reinforcing the one lie we have to do away with, and then nitpicking about stuff that doesn't matter. So the way that to answer your question, well, how do we do it outside of politics? You know what happens if, like, a whole plantation full of slaves suddenly realize we own ourselves? We're not beholden to these people. They don't rightfully own us. They can have pieces of paper and laws and stuff. I'm a person as much as that guy is. I own myself. You know what they have to do to get freedom? Nothing. Literally walk away, because they outnumber the guy. Now, the guy might chase them down. The overseer might, like, I'm going to whip you, all 153 of us. Like, that's not going to go well for you.
And that's what happens. They make an example of one, try to get him early, cut their legs out from under them, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of puts us all back into place. And then they, you know what I mean? And when you get too big, it's almost too big to fail, right?
It only puts us into place if the people who say, I'm not beholden to you, I'm not owned by you, is still tiny. If it's everybody, it's like, really, that overseer thinks he's going to whip that guy. Are we going to let him whip that guy? Anyone who hasn't seen the movie Jones Plantation, go check that out. I wrote it.
Also, yes, Jones Plantation, excellent. And just so you know, William did mention Jones Plantation earlier. So Sedona, July 18th, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's the Sedona Arts Center. Where exactly is it again, sir?
Sedona Performing Arts Center. We're finally allowed to say that because we now have the contract and did the down payment. So we have that. It's this really cool big auditorium because they put on plays and shows and all sorts of stuff there. So it's a really cool venue. And it'll be an all day thing. Well, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday. Lots of different speakers, but not just sit there and hear some philosophical ramblings. Like, it has a point. It's actually going to be entertaining and fun and thought provoking, and have things to keep people's attention, even in this day and age. Even among people who don't particularly like to theorize and philosophize, which is most of the world, to make it relevant and make it matter and make it interesting. And so it isn't just here's a lecture on economics and philosophical principles. Like, we get that stuff in there, but again, it's designed around the fact that most people, they don't want to question their worldview. That's like inconvenient and uncomfortable. It requires effort. It's not fun.
Well, that's the funny thing. People talk about freedom. Freedom is actually easy. Freedom is just whatever, do whatever the fuck you want. Liberty is hard because liberty includes accountability, responsibility, the feedback loop of correcting your and whatnot, right?
Exactly. So getting people to, so like there's 5 parts. It goes along with the book. The book, Approaching Humanity, is coming out on that day, and anybody at the event will be the first people to get copies of my new book, Approaching Humanity. And it has like 5 parts in it, and parts 3 and 4 are about how we allow ourselves to be bound by others, and then how we advocate that others be bound. And most people, if you ask them, are you free? Yeah, of course I'm free. Do you think for yourself? Yeah. Do you decide right and wrong for yourself? Yeah. And trying to gently show people that, well, yeah, except no, you don't. Like, maybe you do in your day-to-day lives, but do you believe in this? And do you believe in that? And what about that? And it's, even just the thing of the question about, if the law was really bad, should you disobey it? And if you say yes, as most people do at some point, okay, that means at some point you think you get to decide to disobey all the legislatures on the planet. That means you think that your conscience outranks literally everything that everyone else in the world believes and can say. And you know what? I agree. I agree that your conscience should outrank everything else in the world. And it's not just because I think you're a super genius or something. It's because it would be literally insane for you to think anything else. Because to think anything else requires you to think, well, I'm pretty sure this is evil, but the right thing to do is for me to do the evil thing, because that guy told me to. That's the inherent insanity of authority, because that's what it boils down to. If you think, that's horrible, I shouldn't do that. Oh, authority's telling me to. Either you're going to do what you think is wrong, and you can't have an obligation to do what you think is wrong, or your self-ownership is going to bubble up and you're going to go, no, screw you, I'm not going to do the wrong thing. And we have this weird thing in our culture. Look how many movies, I mean, you mentioned They Live, V for Vendetta, The Matrix, Braveheart, The Patriot, like huge list of movies where the good guys are the disobedient rebels up against this big authoritarian monstrosity and saying, we're
Star
going to
Wars.
disobey.
Literally, Star Wars. Literally, our entire childhood is like
absolutely. Yeah, against the empire. So people go rah, rah, rah. The reason they go rah, rah, rah is there's a part in them that still wants that freedom, that still identifies with that and goes, yeah, I'm on the side of the rebels. And then they walk out of the theater and pay their fair share and do as they're told. And they don't have a reason.
My favorite, taxation is theft. Well, the rich need to pay their fair share. That is not the answer to that statement. That is not the answer to that statement. The answer to that statement is taxation is theft. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Right. But if people don't notice, like, people identify with their beliefs. And this was absolutely true of me. It's true of me now. It's true of me back when I believed in government and political authority. They feel like what they believe is part of them. And people are, generally speaking, really bad at distinguishing between the things that they actually thought about and concluded, and then the crap they were just taught and took on faith. So if you tell somebody your belief about government is bogus, they hear you're a bogus, stupid person. instead of if you approach it as, well, have you thought about this, to try to get them to realize you were lied to in a way that tricked you into giving up who you actually are. Like, you don't have to care what I think of your belief system. But if somebody did something to dupe you into betraying your own values and what you say you care about, like protecting the innocent and helping the poor, whatever you say are your values, if I can show you that you were tricked into betraying, into not being the good person you're trying to be, wouldn't you kind of want to know? Because aren't your good intentions, like, the whole scam artist thing? Oh, I really want to help you. I want to help this homeless person out. Well, he makes like $500 a day pretending to be all of it. Oh, well, that sucks. Like, I wanted to like actually help somebody deserving of help. Okay, well, then it's nice for you to find out in that case you're not. Your good intentions are being exploited by a scumbag. Now, if you can find people who actually like deserve your help, and okay, good, but you don't want your goodness exploited by evil psychos, do you? And everybody would say, well, no,
Hey,
obviously
that
not.
is government. Well, it's funny. I mean,
Yes.
Gad's sad. He has some moments. I thought his biology stuff was brilliant in the beginning. Obviously, he's turned really badly. Just like a bad fish. Whew, just turned just stinky. But he has that suicidal empathy. And I've always said the thing about weaponizing your compassion against you, because that's what it is. Protect the children, save the women, and that's how they get us to be like, yeah, I'll give you more to do more of that. And it's like, why are we allowing our child to become our parent? That thing is our child. We should be beating it senseless into submission until it's old enough to know better. And spoiler alert, it will never be old enough to know better.
Yeah. And we didn't even make the thing. That's part of the mythology. Like, it made itself. But that's a big part of it, is getting people to like, if you can connect with somebody's good intentions, like why do you want this, reasonable gun control? Well, I don't want innocent people to be killed. Okay, me too. Like, good. I'm glad you don't. And then this applies to literally any government issue on any side of any dispute ever, because government is always saying, hey, if you just give us power, then you don't have to be responsible. You don't have to handle anything. And we'll deal with that thing that you think is super important and bad. Like, we'll stop the super bad people, or we'll help those people in need. You just have to give us money and power and do as we say. And obviously, if you don't give us money and power, it's because you don't care about the poor, or you don't care that the immigrants are killing people, or you don't care about this or the other thing. And so gently walking people up to the fraud and show them the problem isn't that you have crappy intentions. You don't. And if you do, I don't want to talk to you. I'll go find somebody else. The
The
problem
actual
is,
problem is that you have a heart and the psychopaths who are running things don't have a heart.
yeah,
That's the problem.
and
You
you're
actually do have a heart.
projecting your goodness onto them. So some of the things the book goes through and the event will go through is the fact, if somebody comes along and says, like, I care about what you care about, I want good things, I want to serve you, I want to help you, and the way I want to do that is I want your permission to take your money and boss you around. If somebody says that, they don't give a crap about you, they're absolutely lying, they want to dominate you. And that is literally everybody who has ever run for office and anybody you have ever voted for. Asking for your vote is asking you to put them in a position where they can dominate you. Nobody tries to get into a position they can dominate and rob you for your good. Like, and it's one of the things that if people see it like that, they're like, oh yeah, that's dumb. Like, if you, oh,
And
I'm going to help
and
out my
even
friend
if
by dominating him and
even
robbing him. Like,
let's be honest, even if they show that angle of JFK that that we haven't seen yet, and they're like, yeah, you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna get out of line. I mean, come on. There's always one final thing. Just like everyone has a limit, there's something where they just will, succumb. Especially like family. You get your wife and kids involved, and you're like, what are you not gonna do, right?
yeah,
I can't imagine the pressure, and it makes me think is like, now that we know this, even wanting to be in that system of architecture to put your family at more risk like that
yeah,
you don't even think about. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
And that's one of the things that actually made me optimistic, is realizing most people don't even need to ever understand all the weird complex scams and conspiracies, like actual conspiracies, and like how the Federal Reserve works and how my monetary system works. And
They
all
just
of
need to
those.
know no. Two little letters. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. All
Stop.
they need to
No.
know is we don't owe you anything. We're not beholden to you. So if you say, give us a bunch of money so we can blow up stuff over there, and we all go, yeah, no, I don't nearly trust you enough, then literally there is no war. Like, okay, we're not going to give them our money. Also, we're not going to volunteer to go be cannon fodder for you, because now we all realize we own ourselves. And so that not only is that the answer, it's the only answer. Just like in the slave analogy, if the slaves think they're supposed to be slaves, what's the solution? There isn't one. There never will be one. If they understand we're not supposed to be somebody else's property, the solution takes care of itself. Like, you're not going to enslave people who don't think that's okay, whether they run away or violently resist, or maybe they have to wait and hide and sabotage things or whatever. But if you get a population that doesn't have the subservient mentality of course we have to obey authority, you don't even need a master plan to overthrow anybody. It's just you step away. There's like, the book includes an awesome quote from Etienne de la Boétie from like 1500 and something, and he's like railing against you poor stupid people. Like, how do you think the tyrant has hands to beat you? He borrows them from you. How does he have eyes to spy on you? He borrows them from you. How is he oppressing you? By you. You're the ones oppressing yourself. If you weren't helping him, he couldn't do anything. He's one guy. He like goes on about he has the same number of eyes and hands as all of you. Why are you scared of that one guy? And why are you helping him to abuse you? And it's the one that ends with, I don't ask you to put hands on the tyrant to topple him over, but just support him no more and watch him collapse under his own weight. And that's literally what would happen. It's not, now we have to go into battle against who? Nobody's going to work for them. Nobody's going to pay them. Nobody's going to obey them. There is no power. The entire authority, all of the power was an illusion that was only made real because we thought it was real. We made it real by, we give them $80 bajillion because we're scared of them. Well, what if suddenly we weren't? And it's like, how about if we don't give them any money or obedience? We don't report anyone. We don't squeal on our neighbors. We don't report our transactions. We don't give them anything. We don't obey them. We don't even pay attention to them. They can be off in some hall talking about the laws they've passed this week, and none of us will give a crap or pay attention, and it won't matter. And that's
on the
so
smallest
outside
level, if I may, my HOA, I have an old car and I have a tarp over it. Sometimes it's windy. One evening it blew off overnight and blew off my car. I got a letter from the HOA like a month later about cleaning up my tarp laying in my yard, and I literally put it back on the car the next morning. And you're just sitting like, who is looking out their fucking window just waiting for this shit? Like, what is wrong with you people? And when you just look at an HOA and then you go, that is government is that times itself. It's like an infinity times infinity plus one.
Right.
And good luck.
Exponential version of that monster.
Right.
And the book gets into why that's the case. Like, police aren't just abusive, like sort of by coincidence. And again, I use the analogy of slavery because it's so handy. Like Frederick Douglass was such a brilliant dude. And having literally been raised to be livestock, like where he got to mentally is just, that is the most impressive example I know. Anyway, he was aware enough that he was being raised, and the wife of one of his masters was sweet lady and teaching him to read, which was illegal. And it was all nice to him, treating him like a child because he was a child. And then the master was like, you can't treat them like children. You have to treat them like property, or they're going to get uppity and get out of line. And so she got all nasty and horrible. Instead of just going, you heinous piece of boop, he was like, wow, slavery hurt you. Like, he was so aware. He saw the
like
damage
a light bulb.
Yeah, to her. He's like, this insanity, like, it isn't real helpful for the slaves. This is bad for the masters. This is bad for this is bad for everybody. It screws them up. Of course they're going to be sadistic. And it's that the book describes the same thing for cops. If you're a cop, you are trained to think. You show up at a situation, you're authority, you're in charge, you take control of everybody, you tell people what to do. And if they don't, they're bad. You were just trained to look down on everybody. Are you going to treat other people like equals? Are you going to be a decent human being when you were deliberately trained to look down on everybody as your subjects who are obligated to obey you? No, you're going to be a piece of crap and you're going to treat them like crap. And then people are going to go, oh, why did they do that? Because they were trained to view you as livestock, and the training worked, and they view you as livestock. And if a cow tries to walk the wrong way, you don't reason with it. You go, get back here. They treat you like livestock because it is their job to treat you like livestock. And people are all shocked. And, oh, power corrupts. I can't imagine why. Why wouldn't it? You're literally telling these people, these underlings are, you have the right to boss them around and take their money and control them and punish them if they disobey. You think they're going to be nice to you if they believe that crap about themselves? And so walking through that, go ahead.
I gotta give it for Derek because Derek's our resident statist, but I love Derek because Derek is definitely coming around. But he's like, I was in my South Carolina house, HOA wanted mailboxes conforming with Carolina green paint. I did mine in 2 neighbors. I'm a hero. I just thought that's funny. So you're a hero, Derek. Thank you for your service, Derek.
Service to humanity.
I just thought that was funny.
But even in the setting of like an HOA, which is kind of it's a dinky amount of power. I mean, it's enough to be really obnoxious and annoying and robbing people and stuff. But you can see how it brings out the most obnoxious people, because a decent person, like, I don't want to like bug my neighbors about the height of their lawn and crap. It's like, guess who's going to apply for that job? Power happy psychos. Guess if it's going to make them nicer to give them the ability to boss other people around and control them. Nope, it's going to make them even bigger jerks than they already were.
Right.
And so
it's like, what's that? Money makes someone nicer. And no, it just enhances whatever they are. Like,
right.
It's an enhancer. It's a magnifier. It's not, none of these things make people better or worse. They just brings out whatever that inside of whatever they are at the time is stronger.
It shows what was already underneath. Although it does feed the nastiness and sort of gives them society.
Yeah, it has a negative energy to it for sure. But
yeah, so, and that's actually, this may be a good way to segue into, I'm pretty sure you were going to talk about Sheriff Hathaway.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about Sheriff.
Because he'll be speaking at the event. He's an awesome guy. I've talked to him a number of times and we exchanged like voice messages back and forth. And I asked him if he would speak there. Because
once again, elaborate a little bit about who that is, and we'll talk about some of these other speakers you have coming.
Yeah, he's a like very, very thoughtful, very well-read, very intelligent dude. Of anybody I've ever met who has a badge, he is the very top.
Badges? We don't need no stinging badges.
We don't need no stinging badges. But his story, and I don't want to spoil too much of it because he can tell pieces of his story. He wasn't like, give me the ring of power and I'll save the day. He was like, I just don't really want a tyrant to have the ring of power and boss me around in my own county. But to see it from his perspective, when he's there with the ring of power and he's like, I don't really want to use it. I'm just a person trying to help people get along and stuff. And so I think he's one of the few who could do that. Like in Lord of the Rings, it's like the humble little hobbits and the super wise are like, don't use that stinking thing. And everybody else is like, no, I could do good with it. And so hearing bits and pieces of his story, which it's funny because I told him it's automatically going to have more credibility to the average listener. Wow, you're a sheriff with a badge. And then to hear him describe from his vantage point, when he doesn't believe in the whole aggression and bossing people around and like, I'm authority, I have to do what I say. Like he's actually a decent human being with a badge, which is very weird contradiction. I was fascinated. I'm pretty dang sure everybody who hears it, whether they're at status, know nothing about this or voluntarist or anybody else. And I thought that would be a really cool perspective, because too often normal people hear these ideas as, here's some fringe stuff coming from some random person you don't know. So a lot of the event is about people telling their stories. And we have, a devout Christian who's an anarchist who's talking about it. We have an atheist who's an anarchist talking about it. We have active duty sheriff talking about it. We have like homeschooling mom. We have all these different people making it real and making it personal and going, yeah, here's how I went through this weird process and ended up at this position that, like, I feel like the minority now, like most people don't think this stuff yet. But to be true to myself and what I believe in and my good intentions, I there isn't another option. And when people hear it not as a lectured philosophy, hit you over the head with, but they hear, wow, these are like people like you can relate to and they mean well. And like we might disagree on stuff, but they're actual people telling how they figured out that they were being tricked into betraying their own good intentions, their own conscience, the good things they believed in, whether they came from the left or the right, or because there's a number of people across the spectrum who will be contributing to this event, who all ended up in the same place of, yeah, I actually believe in peaceful coexistence, even if I have different views on a bunch of things from that guy. And like, we know how to actually get along with each other because we saw through the tricks that put us at odds with each other. And so, but yeah, Hathaway is, I'm thrilled that he agreed to speak there.
That's great. And once again, Jason was a co-host here on the show, and he had his own show. He has Drop the Mask. But Mark Maresca, just a brilliant man. I don't want to mention anything of his except for his 23-part series on the state and just the philosophy, the mythology of the state. It's a great. I'm sure he'll talk about his engine analogy, so I will not mention it here. So he'll probably talk about that in the speech, and it's some of the brilliant stuff he talks about. And it's funny. I'll just email him out of the blue if something pops up. I'm like, I need to be white pilled, man. I'm getting dark again. We got Williams getting black pilled in the chat as well, and we're like, where do we see it? And I think he's right. We need to do what the Amish did. We need to fight for this commune area of sorts and get some kind of weird independence and not let Lincoln rejoin the Union like the way he did.
And that's the, so we have like, yeah, Mark Maresca is very thoughtful, very intelligent guy. One thing we're doing differently at this event is a lot of times it's like, oh, you have like 40 minutes or an hour to wax eloquent about some philosophical thing that, you know, only people who like to think are going to pay attention after the first 10 minutes. We're doing a lot more things and shorter things and breaking it up with things in between. There's skits, there's some musical things even. So that it isn't like, here, focus on this like intense stuff, but we do include pieces of that. And Mark is very good at that, is like making it understandable, making it clear. And so he's doing 3 separate little parts throughout the thing. My friend Patrick Smith will be there, and he has a number of things he'll be doing. Jason Basler, and Craig Hargis of the Bad Roman podcast. And now I'm going to forget people because I was stupid enough to start trying to list people without the list in front of me.
You did it. You got to thank the Academy and your director, your mom.
I'll forget to thank somebody. But I really like how it's coming together, and I think it's going to be, first of all, it follows the flow of the book. So it's also not just, here's some random disjointed topics that don't really have it. It paints a picture piece by piece in an informative, but actually entertaining and sometimes funny way because even people who are already voluntarists, it isn't usually painted this way. It isn't usually put together in this way where it's like, yeah, that's kind of hard to deny even for normal people. It isn't just telling them, you're asking government to do evil things on your behalf and so you suck. Like, okay, all of that may be true, and they didn't hear anything after the first word because they know you're mad at them and you think they're bad people. And after that, they didn't care. So I've never seen an event like this. The only reason I would do my own is because I've never seen anybody else do this. I wouldn't just do my own to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. And I think this is going to be really dang impactful, and it is designed to communicate to all the people who don't like usually sit down and read books about philosophy and ponder the deep thoughts of the universe. They're just people trying to live their lives. And it's, it can be easy and tempting to sort of look down on them as like, yeah, you're not paying attention to this horrible, like warmongering stuff. Try to sympathize with them. Like, I don't want my life to have
to be hard, man. Once you get to Kurt Metzger levels of tinfoil, You just can't unsee it, man. The whole
Yeah.
toothpaste is just oozing out of every orifice, man. I can't get it back in there. I can't. I'm
Yeah.
trying, man. I'm trying.
But I totally sympathize with people who don't want to ever think about any of this stuff. Like, I don't want them to have to either. They kind of need to, because the warmongering and oppression and horrible evil going on in the world, you can't just pretend it isn't there. That doesn't make it go away. But if we're not trying to basically actually understand and communicate with all the people who don't particularly like to philosophize and don't do that in their spare time, then you have hordes of people who are not trying to be bad. They don't think of themselves as the bad guy, and they have good intentions, and yet they're fueling evil, and they don't see that, and they don't get how that's happening, and they don't get how they're betraying themselves. It's not, oh, we have a world of evil people. Like, if that was the case, I'm just running for the hills. Like, I'm not going to talk an evil person into being good. But you can, if you can show a good person that they've been deceived, you can get them to go, oh, okay, yeah, maybe that's BS. They don't have to change who they are. Like, keeping the good person, keep having your interests and your values and your priority. You don't have to like turn into a clone of me or anything of the sort. I just want you to not be tricked into betraying yourself. And the fact that that's literally all that has to happen to drastically improve the world, to me, that's kind of encouraging. Like, people just have to figure out that they're being lied to in certain ways. And a huge amount of this just falls apart without having to like convince them to like fundamentally change who they are. It's like the person who fell for a scam. Like, when you see that that's a scam, all you have to do is, okay, stop falling for that scam. Like, give to
Well,
people who deserve it,
I think
keep being who you are.
I think it's beautiful for people like you and I. Is like when I go Facebook, Boomer Social Network, Facebook is the most beautiful thing because we know like 90% of them are older than us,
Mhm.
and we know where we're at already. So we already know like every answer that's going to come back before. We know 5 answers from now what they're going to say, from what we're going to say to what they're going to say. We're like so far ahead because we were there. But
Yeah.
like the best thing is like I was you.
Yeah.
Listen to me. The reason I can tell you what you're going to say is because I was just in those shoes. So I do empathize, but trust me that I was you and I'm here now and you can get there. But if you can't even just give me that, man, come on, give me that. It's
Yeah,
like
and
you're
that's
just
why we
trying.
do a bunch of that in the event, because I want people to tell their own stories and where they came from, so people go, "Oh, okay, so you used to think that you didn't just, like, spring out of the dirt as this ranting Molotov cocktail throwing anarchist freak, like you were a Christian or you were liberal hippie, live and let live, or whatever you were, and you found out things that, like, yeah, that's not what I really want. That's not what I really believe. I'm probably have to sort some stuff out." And I even do that, like, I make it a point to do that of myself. In writing the book, I'm just me writing the book, but I make it a point to make fun of my former self and even argue with my former self. It's like, I used to believe this. And here's the things I was missing. Here's the things that it didn't occur to me that, like, well, that doesn't add up. Like, you can't be so the process of pointing out my past flaws and having speakers point out, like, here's the thing I used to be. I don't believe this anymore. But I mean, I was surrounded by that. So everybody I knew thought that. So you vote for this party if you care about the poor. Like, I didn't really think past that until I started to realize, wait a minute, what does that actually do? It doesn't just magically make poor people happy. Like, what's the mechanism? What's actually going on? And so having people basically connect to the humanity of it instead of just have it as here's this dry philosophical lecture. It's like most people don't want that, but they're open to hearing that, and they especially are open to feeling heard. And one of the challenges is, I mean, in Candles in the Dark, it's really easy because you're talking to the other person. And one of the rules is if you're talking more than they are, you're doing it wrong. The goal is to have them bring out what they really believe in and then gently lead them in certain ways, just asking them questions. Well, what about this? But to do that in presentation form, like at the event, is more of a challenge, but it's still possible to some degree if you're if you're showing people who I I used to believe this. I used to vote for these people, and that guy used to vote for the other people. So we would have been enemies. And I thought I was for this good stuff. And so you must be for bad stuff. And you're thinking, well, I'm for this good stuff. You must be for that bad stuff. To be able to relate to people instead of just here's some outside opinion being hurled at your face, believe it or you're dumb. Like that doesn't work. People don't, even if it's totally true, it still doesn't work. But
Yeah.
connecting,
It's interesting your approach, the way you do with the questions, because I'm like, I always wonder how do I crack it, right? Because it's like, do I crack it from just because I'm opposing what you're saying does not mean I'm 180 degrees on the other side first. Let's go through let's like break the binary thing first. Like how, like which way do you approach it? I like your approach, and I always thought of different ways to crack that. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
So one of the main things we focus on in Candles in the Dark, which Rose Channel, therosechannel.com, subscribers to that get Candles in the Dark. One of the main things we focus on is be aware of what you're thinking when you're talking to this person. Because like I said, people relate to their own, they identify with their own beliefs. Well, if you do that for them and you think your beliefs are statist authoritarian nonsense, you then think you're statist authoritarian nonsense. And I'm going to talk to you as if you, this person, are statist authoritarian nonsense. And if you do that, they're going to, even if they have no idea what you're saying, they're immediately going to sense, wow, this person doesn't like me. They're critical of me. They think I'm stupid and evil or whatever. I don't even know. And I'm not going to listen long enough to find out. But if you talk to somebody as if you're somebody who means well, also you were taught some bullshit, and I have to like gently lead you up to where maybe you'll start to notice that. But if you talk to somebody thinking like I'm talking to the past me or the future them who's going to understand this stuff down the road, but who right now doesn't, I want to talk to the part of them that is capable of digging out from under the crap they were taught and basically reclaiming ownership of themselves from underneath all this propaganda and indoctrination. And
So
you
you
talk
got like the
that.
Michelangelo, you've got the statue is underneath the marble. You just have, it hasn't been chiseled away yet.
Yeah, remove all the stuff that isn't it. Like
There you
Michelangelo
go.
said.
I love it. That's a great way to look at it.
And if you train yourself to view them as that way, you automatically have a way better result because they can tell you're actually listening to them. You actually want to know what they think. You're not just in lecture mode. Like they could turn on a video for that. If they're not part of the conversation, they're immediately tuned out. Like this person's trying to tell me something. If the entire discussion is about them and what they believe, and all they ever hear of what you believe is when you agree with them, when they're like, well, I think, yeah, I don't want to be taxed to pay for that horrible thing. Good. I don't want you to be taxed for that either. And every time they hear that, they're like, oh, wow, this person keeps giving me permission to kind of be me and think what I think and be what I want to be. And when it
And
comes
when
to
you're being real, it's the real world. It's like that MTV show.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
but they can tell. They can
When
tell
they
that you're
stop
actually
being fake and
listening.
start getting real.
I know.
Anyway,
Start getting real.
just crazy. Yeah, well, thank you, William. I have to put this up here. I agree. And thank you for putting in no violence, NAP. They are watching. Trust me, they're watching. I keep telling when I'm on my phone with my mom, I'm like, Mom, I love you so much. I really hate this thing. And I can't see another way out. However, I do not condone for that at all. Just because I see it as a possible outcome, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to initiate. I want none of that. You guys hear me? You guys hear me on the other line? I don't want that. Don't come to my house. Don't.
Mm-hmm. There's
So,
also the
that's fine.
thing, we don't start with this, but there's the gentle thing of leading by example, where along the way, if we're talking about like taxes, you want government to help poor people. Okay, if I, for whatever reason, say I can't afford to pay these taxes right now and I don't pay, what do you want to have done to me? Like the same thing we were talking about before is make it literal, personal, and specific. What do you want them to do to me if I don't hand over the money for the thing you wanted government to do? But then at some point, we gently drop in when it fits, not just as an obvious guilt trip, but I gently drop in, like, I don't want you forced to fund anything that you're against. I want you to have complete control over your own money, support what you're in favor of. Don't support, if there's something I want and you don't, I don't want you forced to fund it. Like if I want a bridge across this river and you don't, well, I'm not going to rob you. I'm not going to vote for somebody else to rob you because I think you should get to spend your own money, even if it's doesn't match how I would want you to or how I would ask
Do
them
you
to.
smatter any history in like, hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but back in the day, the United States would say, we got this project we want to pay for, but we're not going to take it from you. If you're interested in buying in or opting in, could you please help us out? Like that would really be a nice thing for the community to get together and do. At least like they could kind of coax it that way. I mean, is that some of the stuff you go into at
Yeah,
all
I'll
or
drop in examples. For the most part, we don't rely on anything factual just because if people don't believe it or haven't heard it, then it's sort of a weak point. If the entire focus is what they believe. So in that case,
right,
like,
right. Because
okay,
if
there's
one
a
point, if it's
town.
not factual, they focus on the thing that you lied about. Oh, it was 3, not 4, or something,
Yeah,
and then
or even
the
if
whole thing
they're
falls
even if it
apart.
was totally true, but they haven't heard it or they're not sure they agree with, then it becomes an argument about facts, which isn't getting anywhere because it's not like the point is their belief system and getting that like consistent with itself, and what facts they believe is kind of like doesn't particularly matter to that. So, but I'll often use hypotheticals of like, okay, there's some town and like 80% of the people are like, oh, we have to drive like way down that way to cross the river at that bridge. It would be cool to have a bridge right here. And 80% of the town says, well, I would chip in a little bit. What would it actually cost? Let's get somebody who knows how to build a bridge and say, what would this cost? Okay, it would be this many $1,000 to build a bridge across this little creek. If you can raise this voluntarily. And then I'll just ask somebody, let's say 80% of the town were like, yeah, we'd chip in for that. And 20% is like, things are tight and I don't really care. I don't really go that way. And I kind of like the river without a bridge over. For whatever reason, I don't want to. And then just ask the person, do you think it's okay for the 80% to force the 20%? Like you're going to fund this anyway, even though you don't want it. And whatever they say, it isn't like, haha, you said the stupid answer. The whole purpose of the questions is just to get them to look at their beliefs, whether their beliefs are just bootlicking insanity or freedom or anything in between. Just get them to go, what do I think about that? Like, yeah, sure, it would be better if we can do it without having to force anybody to do it. Okay. And most people have never thought about those things. And the thing is, that can make people look really stupid. If you're talking about basic things and you're like, how does this person not understand this? It's because never in their life have they been asked to aim their brains at that. It's a completely new
I
area
agree
of thought.
100%.
You can have
Well, it's
literal
funny. The
rocket
second you
scientists.
mentioned the 80-20 thing, I'm like, okay, the 80% get together and fund it, and then they put a toll in the road for use for anyone who wasn't part of the funding. They're welcome to do that as they're the ones who funded for the building of it.
Yeah.
Done. Done.
Yeah.
Hello. You don't force these other, you don't force the other two, it's like the done.
Yeah.
Real simple.
And that's even one of the
Anyway.
follow-ups. Like exactly that is how about the people who funded it are like, well, if you want to use it and you have to pay $1 or whatever every time you go across it. If you weren't one of the people, is that okay? Because I mean, you didn't even want the bridge anyway. And most people will go, well, I guess that's okay. Like it's not my bridge and I didn't chip in. So yeah, that would be fair. Just to exercise their brain in the direction
Unless
of
it's a straight of her, unless it's a straight of Hormuz, then we can't have,
yeah, then we have to
have
like
tolls.
blow things up at random and then
Well, the funniest thing.
and closed it and now it's both. It's
President
Schrodinger's
Trump.
straight.
They have no cards. Iran. No, we have a straight. Actually, here it
Yeah.
is. Here.
All the
Like,
cards are right here.
oh my god. Anyway. So yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's such a brilliant way to do it, and like I said, I had to pull this up here again. William said, listen to you all day, and that's the thing is like the way you say things is so refreshing. It's not really with anger. There are some anger parts we get. I'm sure you and I just get. I yell at news. I yell at like I force myself to listen to other news, like to mainstream, just because I have to hear what is actually being said out there.
Yeah.
And I yell at every channel. I just yell at every channel. Yeah. Now it's not channel. It's like I'll put it on like internet somewhere. But
right. Anyway. But it's the Matrix thing of Neo or Morpheus saying like you got to understand Neo. These people are plugged into it. Like they don't know anything else. They rely on that. So
only
on a
Trump
level, they're still the enemy.
No jokers in the card game. Only Trump is what.
Right. So there's one orange joker in the card.
Sorry,
game.
Go ahead. I apologize.
But if we view the people like on a practical level, they're sort of the enemy. Like you're voting for people to rob me and dominate me. But at a, I don't know what you want to call it, spiritual, philosophical, moral level, they're not really. They have good intentions and they were taught a bunch of BS. Now, the ones that are full-fledged sociopaths, you're not going to change them. Don't bother talking to them. But the vast majority of people who believe stupid, destructive, counterproductive things they're not trying to be stupid and immoral, counterproductive. They were tricked into it. So they're not my enemy. And I mean, that's especially hard to keep in mind when it's like, okay, you're literally the guy with the badge trying to put me in a cage. Even most of them thought at one point they were doing the right thing. Well, I'm going to be a law enforcer because law and order and something or other. And if you follow the rules, blah, blah, blah. Most of the perpetrators of authoritarian injustice are also victims of it. Like they didn't come up with
I
this.
went to college Embry-Riddle, so I grew around military. Everyone, I was a pilot. I've got guys who are, back the blue. I've got guys in the military, and you're sitting there. I'm like, they're talking about their brothers in arms. I'm like, but why the fuck did you get sent there, dude? Stop with the I understand that you have your brother's back and that you went through shit. But dude, that's not what this is, man.
Yeah,
that's not what this is. And it's like now I'm at the back the blue to your back black and blue, right? that's my saying.
True. Yeah. But that's one of the most uncomfortable things. Like when writing parts of the book or doing parts of the event, it's like, okay, this is going to hit a nerve for some people. So you have to be sort of extra gentle in the way you approach it. Make sure it doesn't sound unnecessarily accusatory. Like it may sort of inherently be accusatory, but the book gets into a lot of how the bravery and courage and good intentions and compassion, all sorts of things are hijacked by sociopaths. And there's no better example of that than the military, where it's like, you're going to go fight for truth and justice and blah, blah, blah. And well, now you're over there, shit's blowing up. All you know is I know the guys around me. I don't know anybody else here. I want to make sure they don't die. And
you're going to spread democracy as far as the shrapnel can go.
Right. Yeah. You're going to blast democracy into all these peasants wandering around over here. But the trying to gently let people see, like, the very worst examples of, like, this may start with good intentions, but it ended with something absolutely heinous. And the worst things in the world that have ever been done were mostly done by people who were either just following orders or actually had good intentions and thought they were, well, I'm part of an important thing and we need to do this. And one of the most uncomfortable things is for people, and this, again, I use myself as the example, because I can point to a time like the friggin' standoff with the Branch Davidians outside Waco. I watched the news version. I thought, I'll just go in and get them. Like the horrible, nasty people in there. I don't know why. The media says they are. They must be horrible and nasty. I was still a bootlicking idiot. I hadn't given
timeline of that where the first group came out and then they had started talking, and when they turned, they started getting shot at, and you're just like, oh, and then you look at Ruby Ridge and Shaver and Breonna Taylor and no knock warrants, and you're like, oh yeah, these are brilliant fucking ideas, everybody.
Yeah. And for the Gulf War, I was like, yeah, go Saddam Hussein boss and stuff. And because I was a duped idiot. And it's really uncomfortable.
I enlisted.
To look back and go, like,
National Guard at 17.
Yeah. I
went Willow Grove Air Base. I took the ASVAB and everything. And
I took the entrance exam at Willow Grove Air Force Base. And I passed. I said, you can be a helicopter pilot, whatever.
I got like a 98. I got a 98 on the ASVAB, and they're like, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want. And I took the whole.
Exactly.
I got in a car accident. I got in a bad car accident coming home from a Phillies game in '88. Actually, like on June 21st in 1988. Like just like 38 years ago. And I went to the last physical guy and he failed me on the last guy. He's like, your leg's 3/4 inch shorter. I was devastated, Larkin. Man, I took my heart. I wanted to kill and die for this country so fucking badly. The ASVAB, when they gave me that thing, I'm like, give me that fucking thing. And I just crushed it.
That is hysterical, because at that same base, I took the entrance exam.
Smallest world, man.
Naval and I took it and they said,
Warfare Center, whatever, and changed.
Yeah. And then something in me, I was still totally a statist and rah for the troops, but something in me was just like, no, I don't even know why. Like, it'd be cool to be, a big warrior in a helicopter.
I got lucky. I would have gone, but how you were able to sniff it out or just sense it.
I can't even, I was still a statist, so I can't really pretend it was like wisdom. Like maybe there was some instinctive level of me.
Oh, he's like, oh no, you're like, all the elite kids don't fucking go, so I'm not gonna go. I'll just send other people to fucking go.
send them to
That's what you did. That's how I would have started to see. I was like, oh shit, I'll just learn from them. I'll send everyone else to go.
They can be the example, and then I can
I'll Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin it all day.
Oh God. So but that, if you look at, like, early on in the book, I give the Battle of Stalingrad as an example, because it was 5,000 people a day dying in that battle for half a stinking year. And these are Russians and Germans. They're educated, progressive, like, societies. We're civilized, we're informed, we're thinking, and we're murdering each other by the thousands every single day for half a year. And so I do a little graphic representation of how many people died. And it's like, what? People can look at that, and most people are just like, I can't begin to fathom why that even happened. Like, is our species just that messed up? And the answer is, well, no, not inherently, but we're taught to believe something that makes us that messed up. We're taught that obedience is a virtue, which makes us that. We're taught that it's brave and righteous to go fight for your country, whatever the hell that is. And so if
You
you
know who
look at
Dominic Scarcella is? He wrote a book,
a little bit, yeah,
Good Neighbor, Bad Citizen, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's exactly what you're saying. Is everyone, if you follow the rules, you're probably a terrible neighbor,
yeah.
and if you're a good neighbor, you're probably not the best of a citizen in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is taking somebody's moral code and having them look at the, wait, is doing as you're told and following the rules, does that actually make you a good person? Like, if the rule is don't murder your neighbor, okay, yeah, probably follow that one. But is that because someone wrote a rule about it, or is it because it's bad to murder your neighbor? Like, with or without a rule, you get that murdering your neighbor's bad. Okay, so we didn't really need legislation to tell us that. But if the rule is give us a bunch of money so we can blow up children on the other side of the world, are you really a good person for following that rule? And to just gently start to introduce people to thinking, maybe the world would be better off if, instead of following the rules, I, like, used my own conscience and decided what I should and shouldn't support and should and shouldn't do. And one of the
Yeah.
most powerful things I've found is when I tell a complete stranger, I don't even know you, and I would much rather have you follow your own conscience than obey the dictates of politicians. And that's without knowing anything about you. And a lot of people are sort of taken aback because they're used to the thing of, I want government controlling you this way. Well, I want government controlling you this way. And to have somebody say, I want you running your own life, not doing what I think you should. I want you doing what you think you should. And most people don't hear that anywhere, because that's not part of the authoritarian training. The authoritarian training is, you do what your teacher says, you do what your parents say, you do what the police say, you do what the politicians say, you do what the law says, you do anything except use your own judgment and conscience to decide how to be a decent human being. So gently getting people to look at that again and go, yeah, if the law tells me to do something dumb and evil, why would I respect the law? That doesn't really add up. And that's just sort of the starting point of getting their brain to figure out, basically, again, to reclaim ownership of themselves. We're like, maybe this is all I have. Like, I don't know everything. I'm not perfect. I'm not infallible. But in what case should I ignore my own conscience and do what I think is wrong? Never. The answer is never. The obvious answer is never. But wait a minute, that would mean, and start them down the road of figuring out, that means believing in authority is insane. Because anytime authority goes against what you think is the right thing, why the hell would you think you should obey them and do the wrong thing? And it's that simple. And getting people to see that, it can be a challenge
It
because they
froze
have
on me.
a mental
Oh
investment
my
in
god.
not seeing that. But if you know how to gently walk them up to it, they don't have to be rocket scientists to go, yeah, that is kind of messed up. Yeah, in that case, I guess I should, like, break the law and disobey. Like, okay, I agree. In that case, you should. And just walking them through just very elemental stuff is the start of the journey that usually they take themselves the rest of the way. It's getting them to take the first step where they go, yeah, I mean, I won't speak
Right,
for
but you
you.
have to get them to do that. There is that coaxing. So
Yeah,
with that, you have this really brilliant ability of doing that, and you're creating the mirror, you're creating all these things. William has a great question. Who do you think is best at actually describing what life without a state is like? For example, like, you're really good at showing the ills. Not that you can't show the other part, but who
right.
would you who are some of the people you would turn to look of how to show the white pill part of the a non-state life?
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's different people who cover different aspects of that. Like, well, here's how communities can work together, and here's how economics works. Here's how, like, mediums of exchange. Here's how money can work without a centralized government. controlling it. So there's a bunch of that stuff out there. And of course, there's gigantic treatises about, including justice and like law. And I don't even use the word law, but people who talk about, well, do it by common law, like natural law, the stuff that actually inherently makes sense, not random stuff made up by politicians. So there's lots of stuff about that, Murray Rothbard and Mises and Milton Friedman that cover the
I think one of the most brilliant two of the books that got me just the best was, you got to start with economics. And so it's Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson. Simple.
Yeah.
And the next one, it was Murray Rothbard, Anatomy of the State. Because Anatomy of the State is just a very short, simple, clean way of just breaking it down. How and what you're really doing in this small steps, and how the small steps become big things.
Yeah. And the reason I don't talk about that stuff much, well, first of all, because lots of people have written awesome stuff about it anyway. I don't need to try to rewrite it and do a worse job anyway. But so often people, and I was actually like 2 days ago writing this part of the book, so often people use, but how will everything work? I just did a video about that, as an excuse to not think about the underlying principles. Like, well, I don't know how the roads would work, so I'm going to keep believing in having a ruling class. Like,
oh, I'm sorry. Fucking Chuck Schumer's out there with a fucking shovel, and fucking AOC's on the fucking steamroller.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here, people.
Making a road for us.
Jesus Christ.
And now my answer is me.
I can't. It's like I have like PTSD, man. It's like broken brain. I just go to like 0 to 100 in 2 seconds.
Yeah. But this is another example why the psychology is so important, because most people ask that to get away from having to think about the uncomfortable thing. It's like, well, unless you can describe for me how everything is going to work, then I don't need to question my self-contradictory, like hypocritical beliefs. Like if somebody goes, yeah, I guess government's completely bogus, I wonder how this will work. Here, have some Hazlitt and Mises and all that, because they describe lots of ways that could work. Now, there's not going to be a master plan. So whatever I could come up with, probably whatever they could come up with, other people are going to come up with better stuff, and we'll end up doing that. That's the beauty of a free market, is nobody's forcing everyone to go along with their plan.
Oh, by the way, if I must interject, this new law that just authorized corporations to buy 350 houses. I love how people they restricted them to 350 houses. No, you just told every fucking corporation to liquidate and buy 350 fucking houses, you stupid fucks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I love how the twist, like we can't even go out of, like, I don't know, man, and how deep it is and how intertwined, and they're all paid for. And all I see, I'm sitting there screaming, no, they're making them buy them. No, they're going to buy them all.
Yeah. And there's so many things like that rely on the existence of the state and all these nasty, horrible things they're doing with the food supply and the housing market and everything under the sun, pretty much. And
energy with AI, specifically water now with water rights. And
and I don't even focus on that. It's not that I don't think those things are horrible and destructive, but still, to me, those things are all symptoms of statism and bickering to politicians to, hey, please don't do that. The best it will be is a slight delay in them doing exactly that. Like they're going to try it again 5 minutes later. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about, like, Democrats just go a little 2 miles an hour faster over the speed limit.
Exactly.
And Republicans go 1 mile an hour faster over the speed limit.
Right. And the only thing that undermines it and makes the whole game fall over is unplug it. And the linchpin, the outlet of all of it, is the belief in authority. Because if we say, okay, you can make up any laws you want, we're not going to obey them, we're not going to enforce them, we're not going to give you any money, so screw you. Like, I don't really care what your laws say. Like, and that's happened before. Like the Soviet Union, just sort of, they lost their grip. They controlled everything over there, and just one day on the news, oh yeah, the Soviet Union doesn't exist. Like yesterday was this
1991 unipolar moment. It was crazy. And then look, I'm German. Seeing the collapse of the Berlin Wall in '89 was just crazy.
And crazy. Roman Empire, that wasn't like defeated and conquered. It just sort of spread too far and fell over. And people are sort of just like, oh well. And they don't get that when people stop feeling scared of and obligated to obey psychos, controlling them gets really hard. Like if you have to make an example of like 1% every now and then, like I will beat up somebody who didn't pay his fair share. but most of the livestock is in line. And I'm proud to pay my taxes and blah, blah, blah. That's easy. If 100% of the livestock says, I don't think we're supposed to be livestock, I'm not giving you anything anymore, you suck. Like the possibility of ruling them just by brute force is zero, especially since the advent of firearms. Like you can't do it. You can make an example here and there if a few little uppity slaves start to go, I'm not okay with this. But when everybody goes, yeah, this whole thing is bogus, they cannot do it by brute force. They've never had the resources. They never will, because we massively outnumber them and always will. You can't have a ruling class that outnumbers its livestock. Like,
yeah, but did you see Pete Hegseth bench all that weight? Come on, he lifted that whole weight on that bench press at one time. God. How dare you?
That friggin' psycho.
And he's got tattoos, man. He's tough. Don't even try.
That unstable piece of boy.
All right, so everyone here, it's first, Larken, thank you so much for your time. We're an hour 45. I told you it becomes time warp because we could just, I am certain we could talk all night, but it's approaching, what is it, 11 o'clock on the East Coast? So yeah, we do have East Coast people, considering you are literally and I are from the same neighborhoods. I mean, it's so crazy. Yep. We're both going to say good night to our parents or something. But let's do this. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but you said it today, so you did it. You doxed yourself. Happy birthday, man. It's your birthday. So with that in mind, if everyone who's listening, let's ask a favor if we could. But we're going to give something for it. So we're going to ask for a gift, but we're also going to give a gift. So Larken, where can we get your new book at a discounted price right now, pre-ordered before July 18th? Because on July 18th, I understand if you pre-order now, you're going to get it shipped on the 18th to everyone's location, and it's a discounted price. I don't want to spoil the price, but I watched it earlier. So first of all, happy birthday. And secondly, let's go through all the particulars. How can we go to Sedona? Where, once again, where the website for the tickets online? How can we sign up for your site to go online? Because we do want to support this, because this is the only way to support this, is to do it. Finances, money's always a thing. Obviously, everything's crazy prices now. I can only imagine putting this thing together for you, how much you put out ahead, over your skis or whatever, how much you put your heart into this. But it is also your wallet. So yeah, happy birthday. And how can we do this? Everyone buy this book that's coming up.
At therosechannel.com, you will see links for therosechannel.com/humanity will take you to the page about the Sedona event on July 18th. Therosechannel.com/humanity book will take you to the page where you can pre-order the book for $23. The price is actually going to go up when the book exists. It will come into being on July 18th at the event. Nobody will have it before then. All pre-orders will be shipped out like a week or two after that. Everybody who goes to the event gets a copy of the book as part of the ticket price. So if you can be there in person, that's awesome.
Better also, yet, come to the event. What are we talking about?
It's one of the coolest places in the world. Has a bunch of status there, but it's one
amazing if you've not been. And I've told Mark and I are going to have lunch when he comes into town. Before he heads up there. So, and I'm actually thinking now, really considering going. I've talked to you offline about it, but it's just crazy how it's all coming together. It's really amazing. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, and it's going to be a grand time. And I want a bunch of people there who haven't thought about this, but I also obviously, like, if you have thought about these things, you're already a voluntarist, or you're thinking about it, or wherever you are, this will be thought-provoking and entertaining and fun. Most of the time, they don't bother making these things fun. So subscribers to The Rose Channel, which is therosechannel.com. If you can't be there in person, we're going to try to live stream the whole thing. Whether or not that works, a few days or whatever after the event, the whole edited thing will be up for Rose Channel subscribers to see. If you can be there in person, it'll be extra cool. And you can pre-order the book on the page if you can't do either one, and we will ship out piles of those starting July 18th. It'll be a grand old time, and we'll be releasing like little snippets of pieces of the talk on YouTube and stuff. But if you want the whole like 6-hour extravaganza symphony of anarchy, then be there in person or sign up for the Rose Channel or whatevs.
All right. Well, I'm so grateful. Thanks so much. Is there anything you want to talk about? Shoot the crap before you go. You always talk about certain things. You have, obviously themes and everything. But is there any time? Is a perfect time to let loose of something you don't get a chance to say or something?
There's so much I would
Not to
never
put you on the
end like
spot, but
started. So I probably shouldn't even attempt to start. I will say this. I throw this in at the end of a number of shows. I think it's very easy to be pessimistic and doom and gloom when you see the evil going on in the world and you see how stupid the world looks a lot of the time. And I love the fact that Mark Maresca does such a good job of being the white pill guy, of showing, no, there's actually a lot of reason for optimism. And it may be easy to miss if, oh, who are we bombing this week and who's getting oppressed and what's the surveillance state doing now? I would say, whatever your predictions are for the future, don't let negative predictions stop you from doing what you can to actually make a difference, because you may find that, oh, holy smokes, we were a lot closer to people waking up than it might feel like if you watch the formerly mainstream news. Because right now, like, I've been doing this for 30 years, I am way more optimistic than I was 15 years ago, which may seem really weird to the people who don't know the things to look for to show, wow, statism really is starting to all the way fall apart. And you wouldn't know it from watching the news or watching your neighbors falling for whatever the stupid story of the day is. But they're not the ones who change the world. And the ones who are, they've always been a minority of the population. They've always been like a few radicals. And we are very close to reaching a point where this discussion is going to hit everybody and everyone is going to hear it. And then everyone's going to think about it. And when they start thinking about stuff, that's when the world changes.
that's perfect. That's a perfect way. Let's end it there. Approaching Humanity, July 18th. It'll be all day event in Sedona. Go on therosechannel.com. Is that correct, Larkin?
Yep.
Larkin, thank you so much. I've got an outro, but please stick around the back end. We'll chat just a little bit. Like I said, first time we met, I just unbelievable, just kismet that you reach out, and literally we grew up literally down the street from each other. It's the strangest thing.
Funny.
So, but like really, it's like weird how sectionalized we were. Just across the street was a whole different world. Like it totally was, where Bryn Athens was, even from where we were on the corner. But now they have a Wawa on the corner of 2nd Street, Pike and County Line Road, just so you know. I'm very happy that have that happen. So my mom had a stroke. She was at Holy Redeemer in December. So it was like I flew home and drove up there, and it's like literally drove by Bryn Athens every day and just looked by that beautiful thing. So it's just good to connect with people. And it's funny how we had similar ideologies or just mindsets growing up, because it was conservative suburbanite versus more of a liberal like city life or something. But it all kind of comes full circle.
By the way.
Yeah. What's that?
I was born at Holy Redeemer Hospital.
Oh, no. Something told me to say that. But anyway, well, Larkin, thank you so much. The Rose Channel, everyone, go to Sedona. Be there for Approaching Humanity. If you can't sign up for the Rose Channel, get it streamed or get it afterwards, get the video of it, buy his book, get it ahead of time, $23. You can't beat it. So Larkin, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for joining another Knocked Conscious. I'll talk to you on the back end of this, Larkin. Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.